Well, here's the Hifiman 901, a well reviewed and a very high-end audio player back from a few years ago. I've had this for quite a while now, and reluctantly I'm going to put it in a box shortly and sell it. Or I have sold it actually this morning, and I realised that I hadn't done any summary of the features of this player. So what I'll do is I'll just show you before I put it in the box and send it some of the good points and bad points of this player. On the side you have the start up button, and you hold that up for 2 or 3 seconds to get the player to start. As you can see there, held it for about 3 seconds, and then the menu comes up. One of the things of the older DAP players, especially the higher end ones, some of them did have this slow startup time. For example, in this case I've booted it up. It comes up with the screen, then it comes up with a little menu again like this, and then it goes through a sort of a media scan just to check that there hasn't been any updates to the media. So it all takes a few seconds. See here, now it's loading. Comes up with the play menu, then it says preparing SD card. In this case I've got a 64 gigabyte SD card in the player. I was swapping in and out 128 gigabyte SD cards. The only issue with the larger size cards is that when you first put it in and it does its initial media scan, it's not that fast. So it's a bit like when it starts up. This one's preparing the SD card. When you actually load an SD card, it scans it and you can see it going through the numbers, but it does take a fair amount of time to do that. So as we can see, it's been booting up now for approximately 1 minute. So compared to modern 15-second DAP times or something like the Cohen Plume from a similar era, it's a little bit slower compared to something like the Calyx M. This is a lot faster to get to a play position than the Calyx M, but it is still slow, and this isn't an Android based player. So it effectively took, in this case, about 1:10 for a 64 gigabyte card to do its initial scan to make sure there's been no changes. As you can see on this one, it's got just about 4,000 tracks loaded on the card and player. So it resumes to where the last track was played, and you can just put it in here and start playing it. If I push play, it'll start to play in a few minutes. See there, it's counting down now, it's counting. It's resuming from the last position. So in this case it was 10 seconds into the song or something, and as you can see it's playing. Very simple sort of player. It's got a very simple thing. You can return back to the now playing. I've used the scroll wheel to go backwards and forth like that. I can push it onto settings. You get the system version. Would be pushing the center button to tell you. This tells you the ID of the product ID and the kernel version, etc. To get back out, you can just repeat. You can go down, scroll wheel, repeats off, shuffles on in this case, backlight in 1 minute. So very standard features. It has got a auto power off and a sleep mode that you can activate, brightness, cue support, language, digital filter, output mode, and you can update your media database. So you can go to the now playing, you can go to favorites, you can go to the SD card, you can go to artist, you can go to album or genre or all songs. If you push all songs, it'll come up in a few minutes, you can see there, and again you can scroll down the menu. I can push that, and then it will start playing again in a few seconds. And it's playing. So again, compared to some of the modern DAP, or even some of the DAPs of this era, it's not exceptionally fast, but what it does have compared to a lot of the cheaper players is a very, very good amplification board in it. In this case, this player that I'm just about to pack in a box and send away to its new owner has got the balanced output card. Fantastic sounding card. I've had three different cards for this player. The one that came with it, which is a standard. There was I can't remember the second one. It was a musicality sort of amp card. Didn't really change much, whereas the balanced output card, well, that really did make a big difference. Especially since I had a number of headphones which I was using in balanced configuration, or I wanted to use in single-ended configuration. It's got a very good scroll wheel up the top here for playing. It's very solid. You can feel it clicking into position. When you push forward a track, see it starting up relatively quickly. Slight delay on the album art if it's available. But all in all, very standard, basic sort of interface. Very robust player. The battery's easily replaceable. You open the cover and replace it. This player hasn't had much use, so it's literally still holding its charge as it was when it was new. I typically on this player, playing the type of music I play in the type of files, FLAC or MP3 or combination, typically getting 7 or 8 hours off the charge cycle. If I have an SD card with just MP3s and I don't have the screen on, it can last longer. If I'm regularly using the screen and I'm just playing an SD card full of FLAC files, it does last a bit shorter, so there is definitely a difference. Also the volume that you're playing it at. The advantages of a player like this over some of the modern ones is that it does have the replaceable battery. It is just a simple, good sounding player with plenty of power. I was using it on my HD 600s, my TP1s, Bar Dynamics. I had some Mr. Speaker's Alpha Dogs, and again, this little player was able to drive them no problem, particularly in the balance mode with this amplifier card. It's a very clean, neutral sounding DAP to my ears, so it's a definite audiophile quality sort of player. I mean, I've had literally nearly 100 DAPs now, and I regularly have in a collection over 20. So this has been I've had this twice before. This was I updated it with a newer one, and I can't say I regret it. The only reason I'm selling now is because I've just got too many players, and while this is a great sounding player with balanced headphones and earphones, I tend to be using my players more on the move today, and so I just don't get the time to enjoy and listen to it. I did have it stacked up to a Burson Audio Soloist amplifier using the line out cable. Again, very clean sound. So it's something that I don't think anyone will be disappointed in terms of audio quality. I guess the other big disappointment compared to modern DAPs is the ability to handle very large SD cards. I have loaded successfully a 256 gigabyte SD card into this player, but the issue is that the time it takes to scan it, all the songs into the player, initially just took forever. I can't remember exactly how long, but it was a very long time. And then the startup time was in excess of 5 minutes, or it might have even been longer. I can't, all I remember, I timed it one day and it was just too excessive. So while it could handle a larger SD card, I think the manufacturer recommendations are up to 128 gigabyte. I think 64 is good. I change them in and out. It's not too long to scan comparatively. I just usually have an SD card with, or a series of SD cards with some sort of combination of my musical favourite tracks or whatever. I have a large collection of 30,000 songs, so they're obviously not going to fit onto this player. But I have other DAPs that I use that for. This one typically I would have an SD card full of FLAC files or of some of my favourite artists, or just some recent music that I've acquired. Put them onto an SD card and then just sit back and enjoy it. The volume wheel is so smooth, so it can really handle the IEMs well. I've had no problems using it with the IE 800s. No, I don't get the background hiss or anything noticeable. Output impedance on this doesn't appear to be a factor for any of the IEMs I've used and tried. So I actually think it's a really good player. Recommended for those who are strictly wanting sound quality, and you can pick these up a lot cheaper now, obviously, because there's a newer version out. But these players are built to last. As I said, you can replace the battery in it. Very simple, very robust, very solid feeling in the hand, and recommended for anyone who just wants to sit back and enjoy music. So as you can see, this player's just been on shuffle, just working around. It's 2000 out of that particular artist folder that I'm playing from. So it's a great thing. I'm going to pack this up shortly and put it in a box and send it to its new owner.